All right, welcome to the Unlocked Investor. I'm your host, Ian Robertson, and today I'm joined by Dan Feliciano, the co-founder and CEO of Clotheslyne, a peer-to-peer laundry marketplace looking to revolutionize the industry. Dan, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to have you here. Let's start by just explaining what Clotheslyne is and then go into the backstory a bit as well.
Yeah, Clothesline is just what you said. It's a sharing gig economy answer to the culture that we've created around laundry here in the United States. You can think of it as like a Uber or a DoorDash, but actually delivering, not just delivering stuff, but actually doing the laundry and then delivering it. People in your community volunteer, well, not volunteer, but get paid to do other people's laundry. And, that allows them to earn some extra money to support their family, but it also frees up a bunch of time for families that are overwhelmed, right? Let's be real. And today's life hasn't slowed down any, right? We've gone from a slow pace to a fast pace, and it gets faster and faster every single day. And then you start adding kids and other things onto it, and next thing you know, the things that you used to take some pleasure in, maybe like doing laundry or a meal or something like that, really starts to suck up a lot of time that you don't have. We created Clotheslyne to solve that pain point, right? That people are losing time and having stress around the chores in their house that other people have time to deliver. We started about 3 years ago here in upstate New York, in Goshen, New York, and we've since grown to 8 states. We're in about 26 markets around those states, from here to Nevada and Alaska. And we got about, we've had any one time 2,000 clothesliners on the platform. 10,000 people have downloaded the app now, more, probably closer to 12,000 people have downloaded the app at this point. So the idea of outsourcing your laundry is gaining momentum as we grow.
I love it. And who would have thought that we'd get to a point in society where you can literally do your laundry by just pushing a few buttons on an app on your phone? It's like doing
Yeah,
with your phone, kind of.
yeah, clicking a button and then you get your laundry done.
Right.
I think that probably 50 years ago, um, some mom probably said, "Who would have thought I don't have to go to the laundromat?" Or 100 years ago, we don't have to go down to the river and beat our clothes against a rock, right? You
Right.
can,
It's true. Yeah.
you have a machine in your house that you can do your laundry on.
Right. Now everybody's
Laundry,
got access to this machine, and so you could be on either side of this platform. It's just
yeah,
whether you like
exactly.
laundry or not.
That's it. Yeah, and it's as we've done our research and rolled this thing out, what we found is like it is a unbelievably um, like two-sided argument. I mean, people either love it or they hate it. And I mean, the vast majority of people hate it, but the people that love it, man. It's cathartic. It's relaxing for them. They find joy in the final product. And then the people that hate it as much as the people who love it.
Yeah.
There's not anybody who's like, "Oh, I take it or leave it."
Yeah. It's true. It's true. So now you started this business. Were you always entrepreneurial by spirit, or sort of like how did you get maybe the confidence or the mindset to get to this spot?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur. I mean, I started working when I was young, 12 years old, as a paper boy, and that's like the ultimate entrepreneurial experience, right? Because you're given a piece of property, right? So I grew up in Middletown, New York, and so I was given my neighborhood and the neighborhoods around me, and I could make that little post like newspaper route as big or as small as I wanted it to be by like selling the newspaper to different people within my neighborhood. And so, you weren't really allowed to work at 12 years old, but we had to like go to the city hall and get an exemption and stuff like that. My parents are like child labor. I always just had my kids digging holes in the backyard. We're all big family oriented people, but but yeah, so I mean, it started there, and once you start in that kind of environment, once you start understanding that like the whole world, all business, everything is really just about like solving problems and then solving problems in like a systemic manner, whether you know it or not, at 12 years old, trying to figure out how I was going to deliver those papers so that it didn't take me all day long in the middle of the winter. What was the most effective and efficient way? Once your mind is like wired like that, then it's really hard to do anything else. And so, what I would say is it's like a blessing and a curse. On the blessing side, when you're an entrepreneur, you're an epic problem solver. The curse is that you can never see anything without seeing the problems that are associated with it, right? I can't go to the grocery store without thinking about all the things that could be done differently within the grocery store. Like, um, and so that's really a curse if you have entrepreneurial spirit, is that you're just constantly thinking, oh, I could do this better or I could do that better. And then you try to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Now, had you had any other business ventures between being a paperboy and where you're at now with Clotheslyne?
Yeah, I did a bunch. So I was, obviously, I went to university, then I was in the Marine Corps, I was a helicopter pilot. And then again, a lot of people wouldn't look at the military as like entrepreneurial in its nature, but the Marine Corps is specifically set up to be entrepreneurial, right? The way that the Marine Corps is set up, especially um, with junior officers, is you're given a mission and you're given people, and then it's your job to accomplish the mission, right? And so generally they're like, this is our mission, this is what I need you to accomplish within that mission, and how you accomplish that is really up to you and the people that you are leading. And so I got to do that for 10 years as a helicopter pilot. I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they would be like, we need to bring this stuff. And we had a saying in the Marine Corps: bombs, trons, trash, and gas on target, on time. Right. So that's your mission as a Marine Corps helicopter, to get bombs, trons, trash, and gas on target, on time. And so they'd be like, hey, take these trash from here to Al Kut and get it there by 3 o'clock in the morning when the Marines that are there need it. And then you have to figure it out, right? How am I going to get there? What are my obstacles? What's the enemy going to do? What's the environment look like? Who's coming with me? And so I did that for a bunch of years, and it really just like it kind of accentuated my ability to like look at problems and then understand that there's always a solution, even in the most dire situations. And so I've taken that with me. I went and I worked in the corporate world where, again, a lot of people don't think of the corporate world as entrepreneurial, but it really is, as long as you just believe in it. And so you can be super successful, um, as long as you're effective in your decision making, and understand that you have to deliver, on time and on target in the corporate world is important as well. Once I left the corporate world, I started a couple companies. I started a lifestyle painting company just because there was a guy painting my house, and I was like, "Hey, how are you doing this?" And he was like, "Yeah, this is how I do it." And I was like, "Oh, there's a better way to do that." So I organized a painting company from this one guy who was painting my house. I took it from zero to $1 million in annual revenue in like 3 years. Just because it was an industry that was ripe to be kind of disrupted. And then I started another company, which was my first endeavor into the tech world. That's how I ended up getting into Clotheslyne and into the tech space and apps and stuff like that. I built an app for parents to be able to control their children's time on a device, right? Remotely control the children's time on a device. And that was actually a really fun one because I had to do the whole project management from soup to nuts in the tech space. And like that's a whole new different space. And I outsourced the tech to India, which I still do to this day, and I love it. And I would argue with anybody about that, but that's the right solution. Um, as long as you have the ability to manage a project, right? Uh, but that was a good entry for me into the tech entrepreneurial space, which was really fun. And I built it and we released it, and we had thousands and thousands of customers on our platform. It was a free app. I was planning on doing like a freemium type version. And then Apple destroyed me because when I first built it, um, you could have the ability to control another device from another device in very specific circumstances. One of them was for parental control, right? And then the other one was like a business control, right? So if a business owned an Apple device, then they had the ability to control like what their employees were putting on the device. But the only other opportunity to do that was if you are a parent, if you were an app company building an app specifically for parents to control their children's device time, which we fell into. And, we were getting approval, and then Apple actually just went away from all of it. And then Google went away from all of it as well. And so now, like, the ability to control another person's device is much less, which, I don't know. I see the reasoning for it. But my app was really freaking cool. I loved it. I loved the concept of it. And I wish that it hadn't gone away, but it did, and that's the issue with tech, right? It changes and changes, and you have to always be on top of it.
Yeah, that's true. And especially, I guess, like comparing that experience to this, having more control over the whole pipeline. Like you're fully in the hands of Apple and any other, like the Google Play Store with the other one. This
Yeah.
one is much more in the control of your team, the users. It could go anywhere. It could be just an internet based, could be on an app, could be, wherever
Yeah.
wherever it can land with, so many people
Yeah.
trying to use it.
I mean, ultimately, it always comes down to you have to like work within the confines of a particular system, right? Understand the rules of that system. But then also you always have to be working with other people, right? And then you have to influence them to go in the direction that you want to move. Well, that's the best way to get people to do things is through influence.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with Clotheslyne, just diving deeper into it specifically, how long did it take you from the time that you said this idea is amazing, this is what I want to do, I want to make this happen, to the time that you actually got somebody to pick up somebody else's laundry and like make the first real delivery?
Months, months. I mean, first, me and my co-founder did months and months and months of um, research because I knew, the from the outset that this is a global problem, right? Like laundry is something that every single human being on earth has to do. And so, we attack this as a scalable business, right? This wasn't like my painting company or anything. This was like a real business that every single person in the world would need to address. And so it was a scalable opportunity. And I wanted to know exactly how big it was for us to before we got our hands into it, right? Because knowing how big it could possibly get will define how much money and energy you need in order to make it happen, right? If it's a painting company, all you need is $20,000, and then you can turn that into $1 million, right? But if it's a company that's going to potentially provide a service for millions of people, you need a lot more money, and you need to make sure that you're a lot more organized. And so we spent a lot of time researching it, making sure that there was an opportunity there. And then after we finished our research, then we spent time, building the MVP, the app, which, the very first one is what it was. It was an MVP, which is, it was like half the things that we can do now, but it worked. And I don't know, I think it was maybe a day, maybe it was 2 days after we launched the app before we did our first random person's load of laundry, you know, and that was great. And now we do thousands of orders a month. They're all over, right? Like there's somebody's doing laundry on Clothesline right now,
Yeah,
like as we speak.
that's great.
So it's kind of fun.
So, from an investing standpoint now, this podcast is all about investing. You're bootstrapping, you're doing the research, you're creating the MVP. When is it that you raised your first dollars, or did you raise initial dollars, and sort of what is that trajectory look like from the beginning, at the very, very beginning?
Yeah, I mean, we had a really standard tech startup path, right? So we started with Bootstrap, right? I funded the first round personally, and then we did a family and friends round. We raised $100,000 or a little bit closer to that from family and friends. And that was interesting. That was kind of fun, right? You got to pitch your family. And, our first pitches were like 45 minutes long or something like that to like my mom and, uncles and stuff. It's crazy, Now my pitch is 3 minutes, you know? And I'm asking for like millions of dollars. But you don't know, right? You think you got to talk to everybody about everything. And so we did a family and friends round, and that was like our first $100,000, and that got us off the ground. And right on the heels of that first family and friends round, we were at a golf tournament. Camden, my old co-founder, and I were at a charity event, and we got introduced to some local investors over the like meal at the end of the tournament. Right, there's always the really bad food at the end of the tournament, and so we were there eating, and we started talking to him about the opportunity and the ideas because like that's the one thing if you're a startup founder, whether you're raising money or not raising money, you're always raising money, right? So you're always out there telling your pitch and telling where you're at and like having it right there on like the tip of your tongue to like talk. I'm terrible at it. I've gotten better, but you have to always be like right there. Oh, this is what we're doing and this is where we're going and blah, 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 because you never know what you know. Um, so that was like our first pre-seed round. We ended up striking a deal with those guys, and we ended up getting into an accelerator program out in Nevada. Um, and so we raised money, so that kind of introduced us to institutional money, right? Like real investors, equity exchanges, and that kind of stuff.
Okay. And so you bootstrapped, you funded the first round. I guess I just want to sort of get a handle on where your business was actually at, like production wise, because I hear about some people they just
Zero, like
raised
nothing.
$1 million from an idea,
Yeah,
and they raised
no,
another 100 million from their first customer or before their first customer. And it's like,
yeah.
where were you at?
It's like, so I actually did it the wrong way. Like, I raised a little bit of money and then we started to produce things, and then I raised more money after that. But there's a dirty secret in like the tech startup space and in the investing space that like the more that you accomplish, the harder it is for you to raise money. Like I have had multiple VC friends of mine, right, guys that I've gotten to know, or whatever, who have told me that I should have raised way more money before I even did one load of laundry. Then that it would have been way easier for me to get money than it is now that I've done 70,000 loads of laundry. It's harder to
Why
raise
is
money
that?
because, the VC world, the institutional money world is all about whether or not they believe something can be like as big as Uber, right? Like that's their goal is like, if I invest $1 million, can I get 100x return on that $100? And that's an idea, right? And then once you raise that money, then you have to execute. And nobody does, right? Like nobody is able to actually go from 0 to 100x in 10 years. I mean, think about Uber. Like it's one of the greatest companies of all time, but they just were profitable for the very first time last year. And like how many years were they in operation, right? And so um, executing is really freaking hard. And even if you can execute it, like you can't sell the dream once you're actually executing, right? Like then there's not a dream anymore. Then it's like hard data and people have to actually believe that you can turn a corner in the way that you operate or blah blah. And so it's much easier to sell a dream than it is to sell reality.
Meanwhile, I
And
feel
that's
like
just
to individual investors, they're like, "No, I don't want to give you my money until I know this is a
yeah.
surefire thing."
No, well, those are the people that are going to say that'll say no, right? Because
Yeah.
they're like, and that's the thing about raising money and getting institutional money or investors' money is like, um, if you're dealing with investors that are used to a more lifestyle company, right? One that's on a path to profitability. It's not scaling. It's growing slower. with an eye on profitability and, um, slow growth, then yeah, then you need to talk to them in a way where that's the story that you have to tell. If you're a scaling company, then you need to have a story about how you're going to scale in the same time period that the other guys want you to be profitable. And so it's like the hardest thing you'll ever do. I can't even tell you how many lessons I've learned and continue to learn almost on a daily basis about talking to the person about the thing that the person wants to talk about, right? So if it's a family office and they're concerned about profitability, then make sure you have a pitch deck that talks about how you're going to achieve profitability. If you're talking to a VC and they need 100x return, then make sure you have a pitch deck that shows how you're going to get to 100x return. And both of those things can be true at the same time, but it's really hard to kind of turn it back and forth. That's the truth.
Yes, I mean that's sales 101, right? Find out what the concern is or what the problem is, and then talk to that specifically. Don't
Yeah,
talk about anything else. They don't care about it. Just talk what they
yeah,
care about.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So where are you at today then? Like what's the plan for Clotheslyne at this point and then into the future? Where do you see it going, and what are your goals and strategies maybe to get that scalability to?
Yeah, so I mean, I've become like an old salt at this now, right? I mean, I'm in this game 3.5 years, and in the Marine Corps, we would call you an old salt. Like you'd have to be in the Marine Corps like 17 years to be an old salt. But in the startup game, because it changes and it moves so quickly, you become an old salt a lot sooner. Um, but yeah, no. So I mean, what I've done is like I've really kind of decided that I'm actually going to go in the direction that I think is best for the company, right? And um, for us, that is a movement towards away from the 100x investors. Like if that's their goal, we should not even have a phone call. Like that is not who I'm looking for. We're raising $1 million right now on a $4 million post safe, which is a pretty big chunk of money or equity that we're giving away. But at the same time, it's the last money that I'm going to ever raise, and I have a very clear goal on what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to raise the value of my company by 10x. That's what I'm going to do. I know it's achievable. I've increased our value 5x over the last 2 years, 3x in 2 years ago and 2x last year. This year, I'll 2 to 3x it again. So I know that I can get to 10x with $1 million. And that's the story that I'm telling. And those are the investors that, I want to deal with and work with. And that gives you a lot of clarity. Once you're like, okay, um, my goal is exactly this, right? 10x with $1 million from $1 million company, which is basically what we are. Uh, and then anybody who wants to get on board and see their money grow like that, then they can get on board. And if that's not enough for them, then go back sand. Go invest in somebody else, who doesn't have a product, right? Go invest in somebody who's not doing anything because they're the only ones who are going to get you to 100x.
No, but I love the specificity of that, like
Yeah.
being so specific in what your goal is. You're not just saying I want to shoot for the moon, and if we only get into outer space, then we achieved good enough. Like greatness is still good enough if we shot for excellence. In your case, you're like I know where we've been, where we're going. This is a very achievable goal in a short period of time, so we're sticking to this. Investors will be happy, I'll be happy, and everybody's walking away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's maddening, man. Otherwise you lose your mind if and like the dream is like amazing, right? And if you find yourself in a situation where you could be part of a revolutionary type movement, right? Like changing laundry from very personal, very intimate, very self-serving for like the last 70 years. I mean, there's a reason why the laundry machine manufacturers come out with a new laundry machine every year, right? Like that's our culture, is that we're doing our own laundry all the time. And so that's always been the game in the laundry industry. And now here we are, like shaking that all up, right? It's saying, no, that's not the game anymore. Like laundry's terrible, and I'm not doing it anymore. So like when I looked at that, and you look at the opportunity, you're like, yeah, man, like I could be Uber, I could be the Uber of laundry, and we still can be the Uber of laundry, but first we have to be the 10x laundry delivery service, right? And then after that, we'll be the 100x laundry delivery service, but I'm not going from 0 to 100 anymore. I can't.
Yeah,
Killing me.
100%. Also, I've heard from different people just with making goals in general, with anything, you can have long-term goals, but the shorter-term goals are more realistic because who's to say where we're going to be at in 20 years from now as a
Yeah,
society? Like you have a 5-year goal, have a 3-year goal, have a 1-year goal, but those bigger goals, be flexible with them because who's to say it's even a reality at that point, or where
yeah. Yeah, it's fair. And even the same thing exists with like laundry. I'm always joking with my friends with like the AI boom that, one day we're all just going to be those people floating around on the spaceship like a Wally. I'm like, that's the future of our society. And so like nobody will have to do laundry then anyways, because we'll all just be like these huge fat people floating around on the spaceship. But until that time, we're going to kill it. We're just going to keep, adding people, mobilizing our clothesliners, mobilizing our customers, creating community, um, being really super specific in our ads and in our customer acquisition processes, and then growing this company in a way that's profitable for me and my family. I mean, my whole family's in on this thing, and then my investors.
Yeah, I love it. And now I have to know that you've learned so much in your 3.5 years because, like you said, a lot of startups they're dying out much quicker than that. So just the longevity, you end up learning a lot more. If you had to start Clothesline over again, or if you were starting another company today from scratch, are there any like couple of key pieces that like you would 100% have done differently to skip a couple steps that just were completely avoidable?
Yeah, so I have one main rule that I've learned over my time, and a lot of people find this shocking, but there's a couple lessons that I'll share. But my number one rule is never hire anybody who says that they help startups do anything, right? Like they will drain your very, very small finances so fast, and you don't realize that you're losing money until it's too late, right? That marketing company that's going to help you, 5x your Google ad spend, or that, even like Carta, right? Oh, we're going to do your cap table and like this. Like, dude, you need to understand Google AdWords. You need to understand how to have your own cap table. You need to do all of that stuff and run your company before you can hire somebody else. Because if you don't, it will be 6 months of you paying somebody to run your Google AdWords before you realize that they weren't doing it right. And you were paying them $1,500 a month or whatever it is. Maybe they give you the startup discount, right? And they're crap, right? They're absolute crap. They don't have any return on investment. They couldn't tell you what a, you know, customer lifetime value to cost of acquisition ratio is. Like they don't know. And if they don't know, then then generally what they'll do is they'll blame it on you. Oh, it's your product or this or that. We're doing everything that we need to do. Like, don't hire anybody who says they work with startups, right? And the way that you get around that is, one, you learn it yourself, but two, there are so many people out there, people like me, people like somebody else, who will literally just talk with you for free, right? Like you and I have had conversations about business. I will sit down with you, and there's hundreds and thousands of people that will sit down and talk to you about anything for free. And it'll be the same exact stuff that you're going to get from this company that's trying to sell you something online, or through a Facebook ad or whatever. But we wasted so much money on those types of things. And now if somebody sends me an email and says, hey, we work with, immediately, immediately no.
Now,
Um,
what about accelerator programs? Because you've been in there in that
so yeah,
space.
I've been, so those are, you get where you get. Like there's two of them, like we were in two. We were in one called Generator, which is out of the Midwest. And we were in Techstars, and Techstars is like the biggest one in the world, right? Both of them have a place in your life, right? So there's 0.0001% of startups are going to get into Y Combinator, right? So like, yeah, you get into Y Combinator, great. You're like you're an Oxford grad, and life is going to be easy for you. Or if you went to Stanford, startup world's going to be a lot easier for you. But for a regular guy like me who lives in upstate New York, um, there's a time to go into these accelerators, and you have to choose the one that's right for you for when your business is in the right time for that particular accelerator program, right? So like we did it right. We went to Generator, which is out of the Midwest. It's a little bit smaller accelerator, but it was perfect for where we were in our organization, which was like the 0 to zero point 0.5 stage, right? We were still running on our MVP. We were doing like $6,000 a month in GMV or something like that, right? Um, and so it was great. Like we were there. It was like a little community. It was a little family. Still to this day, their support for their companies that are in their portfolio is amazing. It's better than Techstars by 1,000%. Like uh, I could not be happier with how Generator handles their portfolio companies. You know, and then and then we went off and we did what we needed to do, and we grew our company. And then when we were doing like $50,000 a month in GMV, we got into Techstars, and that was the right time to be in Techstars because the VCs that you're being introduced to at Techstars, they need a company that's doing that kind of revenue, right? And so, or they need a company that's not doing any revenue, right? But a company that was doing $6,000 of revenue in Techstars is not a good place. You're not going to be meeting the types of VCs that want to meet you there. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for the accelerators, but um, it has to be it has to be the right fit for you, and it has to be the right fit for them. And you have to make sure that you do your due diligence on what you expect to get out of it in the end, right? Because you're giving up a lot. You give up a lot of equity to go into an accelerator program, and so you need to get what you're looking to get out of it. Because they're getting what they want. They're getting their equity, um, and you need to get what you need out of them. And I think we got that from both groups. I mean, Techstars is spectacular in the knowledge sharing section, right? Like the stuff that you learn while you're in the program is spectacular, and the people that you meet are A grade level people. Their post program work is abysmal, right? It's terrible. And I don't care if anybody hears that on this podcast. But Generator is the opposite, man. Like while you're in the program, it's like a little community. It's not as much knowledge distribution as you get in Techstars, but the post program support, it's so good, right? It's what you would expect out of a Midwest, accelerator, right? Like it's like a family.
It's fair to say then that you're in the camp that says accelerators are worth the cost of.
100%, 100%. I mean, it depends, right? Like, it depends. Um, if you're a Stanford grad, or you're a Harvard grad, and your network is all that you really like, because that's what you're ultimately getting for your equity is you're getting the network, right? So you're getting the Generator network, you're getting the Techstars network, and you're being introduced to things like that. And so if you already have the network, then probably like I'm not sure if the accelerator program is right for you. But if you don't have the network, um, then it's a million% worth it.
Yeah, fair enough. And now, I guess on that point specifically with networking, do you have any like tips on networking outside of accelerator programs, like, going to like the golf clubs and the events and whatever?
Yeah.
Like, is there a shortcut to networking?
There's no shortcut. You have to always be selling. You have to always be selling. And one of the things that they teach you in all those accelerators is like it's not it's not personal when they say no or when they don't want to be a part of your network, right? Like it feels personal, but it's not. They just everybody that you're going to talk to has their own priorities in their life, has their own like niche that they want to follow, especially when it's you're dealing with business and business development and business investing in particular. There's a niche, there's something that they feel comfortable in. And if they're not comfortable with marketplaces or they're not comfortable with like human services, then that's fine. Maybe they're AI guys, or maybe the guy built all of his money, I don't know, in a software, in a SaaS program. And so like he can look at a SaaS company within a minute and know whether or not it's a viable SaaS company that he wants to get involved with. And then now he has to look at a marketplace company. He's like, I don't know anything about marketplaces. I don't know anything about flywheel effect. I'd have to ask my buddy, if he thinks it's a good idea, and then I got to do it. And they don't want to do that, um, it's a numbers game, man. You have to like be constantly talking to people all the time about what you're doing, because then if you resonate with somebody, then you can create a strong, lasting relationship. And if you don't resonate with them, then you can't take that personally,
Yeah.
even though it feels that way.
Good advice. Good advice. All right. So I appreciate the time that you spent here. I think this was a really, really helpful conversation for people. Where can people learn more about you, your business, everything you've got going on with Clotheslyne?
Yeah, so you can go to clotheslyne.com. It's Lyne, instead of clothesline, Line, just because we're a startup, so we have to spell it differently. Like that's the rule. Also, you gotta get the domain, which so clothesline domain's been gone probably for 50 years. So yeah, you can go to clothesline.com. You can find out all about us. You can see what we're doing, what we're up to. Download the app off of both stores if you're interested in trying the service, and check us out. It's a great service. You're going to be helping somebody in your community make some extra money, and you're going to get your free time back.
Love it. All right, Dan. Thanks so much.
Take care, man.